Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, aloha, sat sri akal, ciao, bonjour, bona. So happy to be with you, and I'm really happy because we have a very special guest today. Her name is Sara Loos, and Sara is a results and impact coach who specializes in supporting working women. So I'm so happy you're with us, Sara. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thanks, Samia.
Yes. Cool. So Sarah, I'm going to invite you to jump right in and tell me more about who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, that's big and broad. Let's see. I am a woman who supports other women in their careers to get to their next level. And what I'm trying to focus on most right now, where I find the biggest need, is in this area of women dealing with burnout because so many women are not just working, they're working two jobs. They have a career and they have their families, and they're trying to juggle so much. And hence, we see all these headlines about through the pandemic, what's happening is the great
Yeah.
resignation. And
Yeah.
the great resignation is mostly women. The majority are women
Mhm.
who are feeling like they can't take it anymore. They don't have the bandwidth to take on one more thing. And
That's
so
right.
they're bailing. And that really, it's disheartening, and it's also frightening, I think, for our future because women bring so much to companies' bottom line profits. They bring so much vision. They bring so much. And, so we have these two really interesting energies going on right now. We have the women leaving, and we have on the other side of the table so many corporations who really want to empower their talent pool of women to be included and rise through the ranks in leadership. And the women are going like, I can't take on one more thing. No, don't make me get promoted and have to do more. And so I'm really trying hard, Samia, to bust that myth that, rising through the ranks, accelerating in their career for women means they have to take on more, which would obviously add to the burnout. That's not true. And that's the work that I love doing right now because I think it's timely and I'm super passionate about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so glad that you got into this work because, like you said, there is a lot of need in this area for sure. So what makes you so particularly passionate about working with working women in this cause?
I think most of all, it's because I actually come from a corporate background. Before I was a coach and doing my work in this area, I started out working in New York City and was at really high-powered, fast-paced ad agencies and also went client side. My last corporate gig, I headed marketing worldwide for a technology company. And I don't say that to brag, but I say it just to say I've been crazy successful in the corporate arena. And then what happened, Samia, is that I got fired. And it's hilarious that I can say it today with so much like unattachment or lack of shame. It really threw me sideways. It's fascinating to me. What happened to me is that the company I was working with was choosing to go public, and it was owned by a foreign company, a man from a foreign, well, they were from Switzerland, a different country, and it was made known after the fact that all of us people from the U.S. who were terminated before they went through this IPO, um, I was the first to go and I was the only female. And I took it very personally. And my work was my whole identity. It was everything I knew. I'd given it my all. I had sacrificed time with my kids, all of this, right? And then the men fell behind me because it was about they didn't want the US people having such an imprint on their brand, their strategy, their company. So, but it took me totally sideways. The men recovered fast. They bounced back, got another job. For me, it took me to the floor in a puddle, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I can't be a stay-at-home mom. Anyway, it was a giant shift in my identity. It took a major toll on my self-esteem. And, you know, in hindsight, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it set me in this new trajectory towards personal development and getting into the coaching, healing practices that I now do, which I love. And I know that it's my dharma. It's what I'm here to do. But when it happens to you, wow.
Mm.
You know, I see these corporate women, I know what they're going through. I have been there, done that. I have, you know, been through all the struggles that they sit across from me and talk about. And I can genuinely now be in a place of confidence again that I can go like, I know your experience and I want to help you because what you believe right now to be true,
Mm.
not not the truth. Let's get you. You deserve to stay in your career. You fought for it.
Yeah.
Don't let men or limiting beliefs or any of those things, don't let that push you away. Don't give up your dream and all your hard-earned work and hours and all of that stuff. Don't just give it up. I want to help you get to the next level.
Yay. I love that. I love that. And thank you so much for sharing your own story and doing it with such honesty. I I really appreciate that. Oh,
Well, that's where everything has to start with honesty and I believe vulnerability. It's
yeah.
how we relate to each other. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want people putting me on a pedestal or any of that because it's that place where we're telling our truths
Yeah.
that we connect and really can see each other
Yes.
and be able to be supportive, right?
Yeah. I so agree with you. And especially with the work that you're doing, helping women, working women, especially in the corporate world, I think so much of the stress that we experience in that kind of context comes from being in an environment that is not always very supportive of our being honest and being true to ourselves.
You're
Uh,
so right. Oh my gosh, you're so right. Absolutely. I think that, you know, luckily I pray, I really, really hope and pray that that's changing because as more women rise in the ranks and go into leadership and they recognize they can actually still be feminine and feminine qualities are nurturing, supportive. It's all the EQ stuff that helps teams be more collaborative and um, all of those qualities that we need to bring diverse backgrounds and diverse people together so that everybody's contributing in their best and highest way.
um,
Females leaders do that best, and
mm,
it's, you know, so they have to mentor it so that others feel safe to be the same.
yeah,
That's my perspective. Yeah.
yeah, I am with you on that. So what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions that women have about burnout, about dealing with this kind of stressful environment and situation that they find themselves in?
Yeah, okay. So I think the first one out of my mouth has to be that the women that are in this extreme burnout, their first thing they think is, I can't take one more thing.
Mm.
And I'm going to tell you, it's exactly the opposite. So I'm going to go into that a little baby bit, okay?
Mhm.
So like I said at the beginning of this, their immediate response is, I can't take one more thing. I just have to stop everything. I have to make a drastic change. And that usually means I'm going to quit my job. I just got to quit it all. Can't do anymore.
Yeah.
What I know to be true is that how they got there is about taking on so many of the wrong things
Mm.
that the reset happens by taking on something else, but it's called something new.
Ah,
There's so much research that proves that we as women do this very interesting thing. We love to work from our comfort zone. And in our comfort zone, it's really fascinating because I love that your show, it's like, make change fun and easy. And I'm all about that. Like, because when you're working with me, I'm making you get immersed in things and try on things and play with things and whatever, because I happen to know that shifts our energy faster. And so we actually have the experience of change so fast, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do in this area with women is that we play with being in a new possibility,
Mhm.
doing something that stretches your mind, stretches your potential, helps you just step out of your comfort zone. And all of a sudden, the life comes back in them. So
Mhm.
it's not about taking on one more thing. It's taking on the right thing so that you can dump all the things that are not in alignment, are not congruent with who you are and what you should be
Yeah.
doing,
Right.
right?
That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of sense. So when you talk about like taking on the right thing and um, it makes me think about, you know, taking this challenge and turning it into an opportunity. So how can you take this challenge of burnout and turn it into more of an acceleration energy, to help you achieve more better outcomes?
Okay. The first thing you got to do, no matter what, burnout is your nervous system is in overdrive. We're actually in fight or flight when that's going on. Your amygdala is firing. And the first thing you have to do is get calm. It's
Mm.
why we see so much activity out there now talking about anxiety, stress, even depression. All of that fits in one bucket, and it can all be labeled categorically. It could be labeled burnout.
Mhm.
So we have to deal with our nervous system first and foremost. So that's as simple as does it take to get you calm? And I'm sure you do lots of techniques on this front, but I have people who say to me, I don't like to breathe. I don't like to breathe deep. But the easiest thing to get your nervous system regulating itself, because your body, your body knows what to do. It's magical, miraculous. Deep breaths literally get your body to calm down. You can do a breath that I call the fireman's breath. You breathe in for 4 counts, you hold it for 6, and you exhale for 7. So 4,
Mm.
6, 7. Okay. And that's the fireman's breath. Why? Because they're front line, things are intense. And talk about nervous system like fight or flight. They have to have calm and clarity in those situations. So just doing that breath, you'll notice everything just slows down. We got to slow down, right? Get the nervous system to slow down. And from that, the next thing, which sounds so silly, so silly, and hopefully it can be like fun to your point. Let's make this change. We need to make fun, right? And easy. It's as simple as closing your eyes. Almost all the work that I do with people, by the way, is with their eyes closed, which messes with them. But it's about going inside. Close your eyes, go inside. And I want you to think of a happy picture.
Mhm.
Think of a happy picture. And for people who are super stressed, it could be floating in the ocean, just floating. And we're going to go like, okay, feel the water on your arms. Feel the water supporting your back. What do you hear? Do you hear the waves lapping? Do you
Mm.
feel the sunshine on? Like all of it. Get them in that happy zone, happy pictures, happy pictures. And then they can start to actually tap into what I love the most, which is this superpower that we have that can take over of possibilities.
Mm.
And you can't get there without the calm and without the getting to a place of visualizing and tapping into something else as
Mm.
possible. That's the beginning. That is the beginning. And that's where the acceleration comes in, because tap into possibilities. And now we're in, there's deeper stuff to that, obviously, but I'm just to be brave for your show, that's where we land in the zone of possibilities where we can start going like, oh, what I used to think was true maybe this truth is way bigger than that. Maybe a lot of what I believed is really just me limiting myself.
Mhm.
Maybe, and then you just, we're way more capable than we imagine when we're in the moment of overwhelm is the point, is the most important point. Yeah.
That is so true. Oh my gosh, I just love that. And thank you for sharing that specific method of breathing. I know there's like different methods that, like different patterns of breath that you can engage in. This one I was not familiar with, the 4-6-7 pattern. Oh, I'm gonna
Yes.
give that a try. Um, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So, okay. So another thought that's coming to my mind is, so you said like when someone's feeling this burned out, they're so stressed out, etc. Um, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't take on another thing. And the instinct is to leave the job. But you're saying it doesn't have to be like that. But is there a time when leaving that job, leaving all of that, is the right thing to do? And how can you tell if it's the right thing to do, when it's the right thing to do?
Okay, that's a giant question, very loaded. I'll see how I can handle that one. I think one of the most important things is you gotta weigh your options. And the way I look at it is depending on how long you've been in your job,
Mm,
you really want to sit down. I go through this test with my clients of we play, is it true? Is it really true? Which is, the uh, oh my gosh, I just forgot the woman's name. That's terrible. It'll come back to me in a minute. She's fabulous. And, it's the whole 4 lines of questions of, is it true? Is it really true? Um, how am I behaving when I have this thought, and how could I be without this thought? It'll come back to me, her name in a second. She's awesome. Um, and we do the whole truth test. And then I always say, like, make sure that, because whatever your thought is that you're running, it's likely to be exceptionally limiting. I want them to think about how much they've invested in that career. Have they gone to their boss and said the truth? This is, I'm overwhelmed. I need some support in adapting to my circumstances if I'm going to stay. Have they exhausted that option? Usually women haven't. We're really bad about speaking up. The next thing is, did you ask for help? That's the other thing women are so bad about across the board. I have done massive executive women interviews. I have taught thousands of women now. Across the board, we're really bad at asking for help and receiving help. So that's the next level, because some third party is likely to have some answers you haven't seen yet. So let them help shine a light on, have you truly exhausted all your options? Because what I don't want them to do is walk away from a career they've invested so much time, money, and effort into. For me, to do it all over again, that window in time, had I had help, someone who was saying, Sarah, this doesn't have to end your career, and I was doing amazing, um, I had a giant window of setback, a giant window of not earning. So, to then later to want to come back into the corporate arena, it would make me set far back in my pay potential and many other things. So exhaust those options. And then beyond that, I love to use this window. I realized I didn't say this before, Samia, is that I love to use this window to teach women how to really go inside and do what I call as like the heart connection, the soul connection, because it's so important that you realize that we are mind, body, spirit, and that spirit part gets left off of our decision-making equations so much. And for me, it's not the last resort, it's the first resort. I teach how to tap into your inner guidance, that I believe is the wisest place to always ask the questions, right? And It's actually easier than we realize. It's just a matter of getting that mind of ours that loves to just run the show. You got to honor it and go, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate what you just said. And I'm going to go with my other team of experts, which are over here. Sit quietly. You'll have your turn. You've had your turn for so many years now. I'm going to tap into some other guidance. And that's the stuff that I love to do. And that really helps the women decide, and men, I actually have some male clients too. It helps them decide, do I want to stay?
Yeah.
Or is this, like I said in my own career, is this literally the trajectory I need to do what my heart most wants? And I've been afraid to make the change until now,
Mm,
right?
yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing both the the way that, we can use our mind to help us process and understand what might be the best decision for us to make, but also this other way of just connecting with our spiritual hearts. And that's honestly my favorite way too.
I know, I know, I know. I know that about you, and I love that about you. It's how we connected, of
Yay!
course. So,
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
that is so awesome. So, if you might just talk a little bit more about our hearts, our spiritual hearts, what would you say is like a, a problem or a challenge that keeps people disconnected from their heart, or that prevents them from being able to seek the guidance of their heart?
Okay, I could talk about that for about 2 hours or more. Let me see if I can make it simple. My perspective. I think it's challenging for people to um, tap into the wisdom of the heart because we don't
Yeah.
teach it.
Mm,
It is just becoming something people are embracing. It's just becoming something that science backs. And I love the research that's saying the heart energy is exponentially more powerful than the mind. And so I think there's been so many years, decades upon decades, of us believing that our mind is the lead guidance
mm,
and what we want to tap into. So you have a whole lot of people who only want to go after what is fact-based. And if the science wasn't there, they weren't following. Now the science is there. So they're more open to what, and most of the people I work with, I start with making sure they understand there's some science behind it. So then they're like more relaxed, like, oh, she's not doing something woo-woo or whatever, right? Um, the second thing I would say is it's not always comfortable. Like I've had so many clients who I'm like, let's close our eyes. We're just going to get started, like, to go into this practice and we're going to do this. They're having their eyes closed with me for whatever reason feels really uncomfortable. And so meanwhile, we've established that they trust me completely and thoroughly, but yet there's someone sitting there, they think, watching you. And I'm always like, my eyes are closed too, don't worry. But it's uncomfortable. It's unsettling. It can be until you get used to it. And the third is I just think that there isn't the promotion, the publicity, the attention giving in media and our culture to the power of this and how it could transform the world. And were it to be giving more attention, be given more attention, then I think more people would be willing to test drive it. But right now, the attention and focus is on all these other tools. And the other tools are, even a lot of self-development tools, I'm just going to put this out there, don't work for women because I know that women don't respond to pushing and a lot of the male bravado self-development stuff. And so I kind of like to go there, like medical research. Thank heavens, medical research is finally including us gals in the test, right? For years, it was all on men. Well, we have very different body systems, hormones, everything. And I will say that when women especially start doing this, they start realizing this is so much more natural for us to approach our wisdom And so hopefully just the ability for people to embrace it because it's promoted, embraced, and believed in, then people, because nobody wants to be the odd man out. They don't want to be doing something nobody else is doing. It's like, God, gosh forbid that we, um, because that's all about, then I might be judged and I'm blah, blah, and that's a whole nother black hole that we go into.
That is so true. That is so true. I mean, I agree with you. I think the lack of education is probably the biggest obstacle because the more that I know, once I learned how to connect with my heart, the more that I did it, the more I grew to trust the guidance of my heart. I'm like, wow, this makes life so much more fun, so much more easy.
And why the heck did I waste so much time, right? Like
Yeah,
beating
yeah.
my head against the wall and doubting,
Mm,
constant doubting. That's the thing I would say, Samia, I know you know this. It's just like, for me, clients ask me frequently would I teach them about this, and I do different things to show them they have all the answers inside them, right? And they go, wait, do you do this? And I'm like, every day, every decision. And they're like, you trust it always? Absolutely, always. When you realize how great it is to literally anything that you're questioning, a major investment in yourself, a purchase about something, talking to your friend about something awkward, anything and everything, you can check in when you know the steps. You can check in and get the affirmative best answer for you and follow it. It's liberating. It is
yeah.
so crazy. And then I just look back and go, oh my gosh, the amount of frustration and time I wasted chasing my tail. We
Mm,
all do, right? Chasing our
yeah.
tail over what's the answer? What's the answer? And then just lathering and everything starts to fall apart at that point. You're just like a
Yes.
mess, a big hot mess. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to be that way, right?
I know. And
Um,
honestly, you mentioned that this feels a lot more natural for women, because of the differences that we have in our systems. And honestly, I agree with you that for most women, this comes more naturally and easy. And I personally, that's one of the reasons why I have come to really appreciate being a woman. I like, this world is so our culture and all, like society sometimes is so male dominated and so into valuing the male characteristics and ways of doing things. Um, but really, I think when it comes to being able to connect with our spiritual heart, seek its guidance, follow its guidance. It's something that male or female, uh, I hope everyone can learn to do this and do this for themselves. And for those of us, for whatever reason, that find it easier, I think it's a huge advantage, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's literally, I know for you, it's where your work comes from. It's where your book came from. It's, like it becomes your North Star
Yeah.
for doing your purpose, right?
Yeah, and it's so beautiful also because there's like so much depth to this experience and um, you know, like your heart is so wise and amazing. And it always gives you the guidance at your current level. Like it'll never tell you to do something that is beyond what you are currently capable of. But as you continue to grow and you learn more and you gain more capacity, the answers that it gives you, the guidance that it gives you also grows deeper and wiser. Uh,
Uh,
it's so beautiful.
yeah. Yeah. It's the dearest, closest, most reliable, trustworthy friends,
Yeah,
passionate friend you'll
mm,
ever have. I
indeed.
love, I love when I take a client through the process for the first time, that first entry and they get to hear or feel or see, because it's also, it's a bit like tapping into your intuition, but it's a deep level of it. And everybody has a different experience of that. But to feel
Yeah.
deeply loved, like deeply unconditionally loved for the first time for most of us ever, ever, it is, it's life-changing, right? So to feel that that's been with you all along and you didn't know it,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's just amazing.
Mm. I'm so glad that you incorporate this spiritual approach into the way that you work. And I'm sure that everyone who works with you will benefit so much more because you're incorporating this spiritual approach in the way that you work also. I really,
I
really
hope,
appreciate that. Yeah. No,
I
I
hope so.
trust that.
I was just going to say, to, to that point, what I've noticed is I tend to get clients, if you read deep into my website, you'll get little drips, little drops of it. I do very unique techniques to get people to a higher level of change, to a higher level of where they want to be in their life and their careers, etc. And the old ways don't always work. So, but I do have to start there. That's the sad thing. I have to start with the usual tried and true coaching techniques and so forth. And then it's a matter of they get to a place where they trust me.
Mm,
And I'll say, okay, you want to try something really different? Are we ready? It's like switching gears. Like,
mm,
okay, you ready to go into like third or fourth gear? We're going to take this up. And by then they trust me. They've had an exquisite experience and they're like, okay, let's go. And then, there's no turning back. So I say that because I know there are a lot of other coaches who want to lead with that.
mm.
And it limits people's access to you. It
Yeah.
limits the people who you could actually really impact their life because you're basically saying, this is how I work. This is the only way I work. And I want more of us who have this knowledge and skill set to bring it to more of the masses, to light more candles. And
Yeah.
to do that, it means sometimes you have to just be patient and wait and see if they're willing and ready to open a new door.
Mm.
See what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely hear what you're saying. It's sort of similar to how I actually got introduced to the world of coaching because like honestly, I was not familiar with coaching at all. It, and what I was looking for was just some way to learn and to help myself take more control of my mental emotional wellness. And one day I was just Googling and I don't know how, I honestly do not remember how this came up, but somehow this website popped up of a happiness expert. And I got on her website and she said, okay, I have this training program that's basically training in applied positive psychology, and it teaches you how to take control of your mental emotional wellness. And there's also a component of it which will teach you how to teach the material that you learn to other people. So you can, first of all, experience it yourself and see if it works for you, if it transforms you. Then you also have that choice of sharing that with other people. I was like, oh, cool. And I'm like a total like psychology buff. I was a psychology major in college and so forth. So that's what got me in. But then I got in and just like you said, my happiness expert, my teacher, her name is Dr. Amy Koje. She was like, oh, and by the way, I do this other thing. And we're going to give it a try. And are you willing to experiment with me? And I was like, sure. And so she's the one who introduced me to my heart too. But if she had been leading with the spiritual side, just spiritual or I work with the heart, I probably wouldn't have responded at that point in my life. Now, I'm in a very different place. So now when I see coaches who are explicitly, like heart-centered or explicitly spiritual in their approach, they're my people now. And I very much am attracted to working with them. So I guess it's also partly just a matter of sort of where you are in your journey, both as a student and also as a coach in terms of what you
Absolutely.
lead with. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a personal choice. It's a
Yeah.
personal choice. I only say it because I recognize that for me, it gives me access to more people that otherwise would
Yeah.
never even
No, you're
try.
absolutely right. I think especially in America and especially in the corporate world, in the business world, people are just not familiar enough. If you were like in India, for example, it would be a different story. I mentioned India because I'm half Indian. I've lived in India. My family, half my family's from there. Over there is just such a different environment, such a different culture where spirituality and religion and faith, they're very much a part of our public life as well as our personal lives. And so over there, when you talk about spirituality, religion, faith, there's an immediate sense of credibility that you receive if people find that they connect and understand the way that you talk about issues of religion and spirituality and faith. So over there, it's just because it's a very different culture, the approach has to be obviously different.
Yeah.
But for you, in your case, what you're doing, the approach you're taking makes wonderful sense.
Well, I just want to say, like, how fabulous to um, know that in India and other countries that spirituality is infused
Hmm.
in everything people are doing. And I'm sure you could give lots of examples about how that just makes everything so much better. We're behind here. We're behind. And I did this executive interview series with all these C-suite women, and I was asking them a little bit, like I went through tons of just normal questions, whatever, and then I asked them about spirituality. And it was quite fascinating because so many of them said that they hope spirituality will make it into the workplace, but it'll be called something different when it does. And I was like, what does that exactly mean? And we had lots of conversations about, corporate America. There's a big movement for meditation now. And, you do meditation and people see productivity levels go up. Just tons of positive
Yeah.
markers in the research. And I'm like, that's just the beginning. There's so much more. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
that's just
yeah,
the
yeah.
beginning. At least. So I have lots of hope because I genuinely, like you, I know it'll change lives. It'll change the way we interact with each other. It will change so many markers that need to be changed where we are right now in our world and
Yeah.
the way we view things and the imprint that each of us are leaving, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun. I could keep talking with you for a long, long time, Sarah. But we do have to begin to wrap up for today.
I know.
So I guess as a last question, I would just say, do you have any tips that you can share, in terms of how women or people, but especially women, can find more success or like some tips maybe that they might be surprised by?
Sure. Okay. I'd love to rattle off a few. Let's see. Women are we have some qualities that we don't even know we have that are holding us back. So the kind of the unconscious things that we do. We have a way, because culturally we are trained, have been, and it will continue. I have, sadly, I will say, probably for at least another decade or so. Um, we have been trained to be subservient. I know in your culture, I've listened to some of your podcasts, your stories about, like, the one of like money making. You weren't going to be told how to make money or have a checkbook or anything like that. I mean, we have been kind of the second class citizens. So we carry with us a lot of unconscious ways of being very subservient. So especially as we go into our lives and we're trying to step into power, we have to recognize some of these things that we're doing that just don't work. It immediately signals, I'm weaker, I'm not ready, I'm not capable to
Yeah.
do this work. So examples, we have to listen to our volume and turn up the volume on our voice, because
Mm.
women start getting really quiet when they're intimidated. We have to speak louder. We have to practice um, being confident and clear in the way we speak. There's a difference between aggression and assertiveness. So a lot of women get really uncomfortable when they have to be assertive and they think that that's being aggressive. There's a difference. Assertive is just forward movement. Literally, the definition is forward movement to make something productive happen, versus aggression. That's there's all the negative energy in there. So we have to learn to be more assertive. We need to be willing to own our value.
Mm.
Um, Pretty soon, by the time this airs, I've got a free product that's going to be on my website that'll be out. That's all about, like, getting the job you desire and getting paid what you are worth.
Yes.
So many women don't know how to. We got to close that pay gap, and it's a lot of things that we're doing wrong, even in the interview process. Gosh, we got to stop apologizing. Seriously,
Yeah.
we apologize and we do it. Let me tell you why we do it. We do it, Samia, because we have been trained that we can't be higher than the other person. Girls are like, it doesn't matter if it's some woman who, Oprah could drop into our conversation. She's probably a little different because I think she's trained herself out of this, but she could drop into our conversation and she'd say something like, you might say, oh my gosh, I love that outfit. Oh, it's nothing, just she's got to bring herself down so she fits in, because that's how we roll as females. If
Mm.
we do that with men, we've lowered ourselves. So we apologize so that we don't look like we're imposing on someone or thinking that we're better than them or whatever. We
Mm.
have to stop apologizing. So I do a lot of work with women on catching their speech, catching their body language, catching the way they do or don't own their value in a room. Super important to
Oh.
get ahead. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Oh my gosh, that just makes me want to dig deeper. But you know what? Let's bring you back another day and
Fabulous.
keep digging deeper into this, because we have so much amazing things to talk about. So thank you again, Sarah. I really appreciate the time you spent with us today. And I'll be sure to include Sarah's links in the show notes. So everyone, if you're listening, please make sure to check out the show notes, click on the link, connect with Sarah. I'll also drop my links in there. Connect with me if you like. And until we see each other again, hear each other again, connect with each other again, I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.
You as well, dear. Thanks for having me. This was wonderful. Take care.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, The Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes.